Hey, it's Mazzy here. Welcome back again. This is a video on music from the BBC. The live tapes, the live recordings from BBC One for the most part, Saturday Club, some of the shows that were on in the UK starting in the 1960s up through the 80s and beyond, I think. It's an interesting concept in terms of the recordings that we have. Those of you who collect CDs and records and know about the Beatles at the BEEB and the Stones, BBC recordings, and so many groups. Over the years, there's been a lot of releases that are these in-studio live recordings that took place for the BBC because of something called needle time. It was a union law in the UK for the BBC that a certain segment of recordings had to be live, they couldn't just play records all the time. They couldn't mimic the songs and do even, totally live recordings. So a lot of the bands would go in and do these 4, 5, 6 hour sessions prior to the debut. And we heard over the years all these great things. Now, I would love to hear this take, and maybe there are things out there from some of my friends in the United Kingdom, what this was actually like. And us in America started hearing bootlegs in the late 60s, really into the 70s, bootlegs, especially first of the Beatles, and then the other bands like Led Zeppelin, the Stones, of these recordings that they made in the studio. Very little overdubs, if any, because they had to just be tight and play live. And that's why it was great that a lot of these bands had really wonderful live careers parallel. So a lot of these songs they had done tight. Sometimes they would experiment and do new songs that hadn't been released yet. And what happened was, up until I think the late 70s, a lot of the tapes were white, clean. So a lot of the original tapes didn't exist. The BBC would reuse the tapes and go over and over. So they only have, the reason we have them now is because of subscription services where they made virtually like pressings, vinyl pressings, and sometimes copy tapes and send them to other areas around the world for rebroadcast. Some of the DJs would take them home and have copies. Some of the engineers would have, stash away copies. So the recordings that I'm going to show are from my collection, and I just have really a minuscule amount. There's so many other bands that have put together, released vinyl and CDs of these, but I want to go through my collection. And probably, well, from my point of view, the Beatles obviously were the first ones that I got into. I started getting bootlegs, and what was great about it, you'd have these little snippets of interviews. The main DJ commentator was Brian Matthews that I first heard, and on all those early Beatle recordings and interviews from 1963, 64 and beyond, it was Brian Matthews who hosted and interviewed the Beatles all those years ago. Now, in the age of vinyl, there's some trademark equality bootleg albums with just inferior kind of cheapo covers, but that was kind of the beauty of bootleg series. And once the bootleg record people started getting more elaborate, they put out covers that look like official covers. In some cases, they were better than what the labels were putting out. And this is a series I have. This is a vinyl series of the complete, more or less, the Beatles at the BEEB at the BBC. These are bootlegs. They look very real. And a lot of times you'd see these listed as imports in record stores to sort of sneak around from FBI raids and bootleg raids of records because they were so professional looking. They were mistakenly, mistaken for actual releases, import releases. These have all the takes. And what's nice about it, years later, well, let me just go through these really fast. Beatles at the BEEB, Beatles at the BEEB. Fun set of records, and these volumes pretty much have everything. I think in this case, there are 13 volumes here. There also was a wonderful big compact disc set in the era of compact discs. of all the Beatles at the BEEB sessions. And as a result of this, finally Apple, the Beatles, Apple, Capitol, Parlophone, started putting out a series initially in 1994. And this was the first one that came out on compact disc and vinyl. And it's a 2-record set, live at the BBC. And then, some years later, they put out Volume 2, live at the BBC. What's nice about this, they remastered Volume 1, the first one, and put them out simultaneously. So you have Volume 2 here. This is a 2-record set. Actually, it's 3 records. It has side 5, which is bonus interviews. This is how this record is repackaged, slightly different cover, expanded. It has 3 LPs here instead of the 2. Obviously, it changes from the sepia cover to the full solid, graphically black and white, and then this Volume 2 color. So these are the 2 official releases that came out on compact disc and LPs of the Beatles at the BEEB. And they still don't have everything like the bootlegs. I believe there were 56 performances that the Beatles did. A lot of repeat of songs, but you could just see how tight they were doing these songs live, dry recordings, just really wonderful. So I'm going to go through the others I have in my collection. Again, far from definitive, but let me just show you here. The Rolling Stones put on this double album called On the Air, a BBC recording. Not everything has come out on vinyl. Let me show the vinyl ones first. We have this. This is the best of Billy Bragg. What I like about this, the way this is divided, this is 1983 to 2019, and it goes through the various sessions from the David Jensen sessions on BBC in 1983, Saturday Night Live, 1984, John Peel, 1985 and beyond, 1988 John Peel as well, and John Peel in the 90s. So it's really nice seeing the various age differences. In this case, I love how they separated the decades of this. Obviously, the Beatles, we only have that short window of several years, 2 years really, a BBC live records for the Beatles. But this is a really wonderful overview. We have here the Smiths, and this is Hateful Hollow. This is live tracks, partly from the BBC, from John Peel sessions again, the David Jensen's sessions, and some singles here. But this was a import CD that came out. One of the first, probably maybe the second or third Smiths album that I got. This is my original UK copy, made in the UK, the Smiths. Aside from the definitive specific BBC releases, there are a number here that I'm going to show that when an artist put out a comp in a CD era like this is the Zombies Heaven. This is a 4 CD comp that has their best of, has some outtakes. It has the Odyssey and Oracle and the Lost album. But disc 4 on this showcases live on the BBC. And it has 29 songs, including some interviews with the Zombies from the BBC. So again, the quality on all these varies depending on what was left, what was recovered, whether it's transcriptions, whether it's from tapes the engineers kept, or DJs like Brian Matthews or John Peel or Johnny Walker would keep tapes, and some of these turned up on some of these recordings. And this is a fantastic overview comp of the Zombies' career. But again, that 4th disc contains the BBC Zombies. Sometimes it was as simple as just a single CD issue. And this is Cream. These were recorded in 1966 and 1967. I think most of the broadcasts were in 1967, of course, from their first 2 albums. And it's nice to have these live recordings. Of course, one of the great live bands, very short-lived, Ginger Baker, Eric Clapton, and Jack Bruce. Cream, Cream. Now, Jimi Hendrix also did one. It recorded in 67, 68, and 69 for the BBC radio, as well as Top of the Pops and Ready, Steady, Go TV performances. This is a cool double CD, 2 CDs, and has some great performances as well. So any Jimi Hendrix aficionado, this is a requirement. Good stuff. In 1969, Led Zeppelin recorded for Tasty Sunday, Chris Grant's show, and then John Peel's show of Top Gear. And these are a 3 CD set of those shows. There's also a vinyl version of this, which I don't have. This is the complete BBC sessions, Led Zeppelin. David Bowie issued a CD, and this is Bowie at the BEEB. And this has a 1968 through 1972, the best of those recordings, so it's not a complete set. And what I like about it too, it has a later recording from June 2000. So you can hear the difference and the progression of something. That's what's nice about these few BBC recordings that span over a decade or two, like the Billy Bragg or something. Most of these are really the 60s into the 70s, but Bowie at the BEEB is another fantastic set. And amongst my favorite, that's not a separate BBC issue, but it's from these 2 different Move albums. The Move, self-titled record, and the great album Shazam, which I recently showcased their version of a Tom Paxton song, The Last Thing on My Mind on here. And what I like about these are expanded. They have stereo and mono and outtakes and alternate versions and some live bonus tracks and mono singles as well. This has the BBC sessions from January 67 to January 68, and it has Kilroy Was Here, I Can Hear the Grass Grow, Morning Dew, Hey Grandma, their great cover of the Moby Grape song, of course, Cherry Blossom Clinic, Fire Brigade, and many others. And it's a whole separate disc 3 on this of BBC recordings of that 1 year period of early Move, which I really love. You know, pop and heavy and great rock and roll recordings. And this is from Shazam, and this has, of course, the original album stereo remastered as well as alternate singles and mono singles. And then, of course, the BBC sessions from May 68 to November 1969, including interviews. A lot of these have little snippets of interviews in here with Carl Wayne, and then they go an interview with Bev Bevan, the great drummer. Obviously, it would later go on when Move transformed and became Electric Light Orchestra. So you have the interviews between the different sessions of songs, and that kind of gives you the feeling. I mean, some people say just give me the music, and in some of the cases on these it's mostly the music, but to get that feel of radio and what it was like at the time, whether it's radio or television on the BBC on Radio 1, it kind of gives you that nice ambiance of what it was like listening to these. And again, I'd love to hear like firsthand reports from some of you of how you listened and what you thought about listening to these live versions, since they really weren't just only playing the records on the BBC. We got in America, we had things later like the King Biscuit Flower Hour. We had radio stations in New York and LA and San Francisco doing live shows from, like in San Francisco, KSN would do live from Pacific recordings and live from the record plant in Sausalito. We'd have these, not a regular thing, but these great live, you know, I would hear Van Morrison and Fleetwood Mac and Pink Floyd when they visited KQED. In fact, on one of the box sets, there's a video of KQED's live performance of Pink Floyd. I think it was around 1970, and it's fantastic. It's really great. So it's great to have these, and I'm just in love with these. Now, these are 2 what I like that are very similar in a way. I kind of wished that Universal had access and everything was included like this library. I would like everything to be like this. That's the Virgo in me, the organization. This is T-Rex, Mark Bolan, featuring John's children, T-Rex and Mark Bolan and T-Rex for the BBC. This is 6 discs, 1967 to to 1977. So this has a whole wonderful folio, an album, gatefold folio album of all these recordings of Mark Bolan at the BBC. Beautifully annotated book. This is the way that archives these live at the BBC recordings, almost better than every other one, including the Beatles. I mean, this is the way to go. You got them on Top Gear, Voice of the Pop, Saturday Club, The Sunday Show with T-Rex, John Peel's Sunday Concert, The Sounds of the 70s, the Bob Harris Show, the Dave Lee Travis Show. Again, you in the UK will be more familiar with these names than I do. Radio 1 Club, Sounds of the 70s, and so on. But this is really good. And the sound varies depending on the show and the year, but it's a fantastic set. A personal favorite of mine, of course, and one of my all-time favorite bands, the Kinks at the BBC. In concert, Radio Theatre, Color Me Pop, the Hippodrome Theatre, Golders Green, excuse me, got that wrong, and Saturday Club with John Peel's show, the Great Old Whistle Test. That's one of the shows that I really love the recordings of and the video of. When you've seen Great Old Whistle Test on YouTube and some videos you can pick up, one of my favorites is Ry Cooder's show. You can find him doing an amazing rendition of The Dark End of the Streets on that. I just love his playing on that version. But this goes back, and this is jam-packed again with 5 CDs plus a DVD of video. So again, the Kinks, one of my very favorites of all these. But again, this would be one that I would highly suggest, and I believe, unfortunately, this is all out of print. We have the BBC Disc 4, the Old Grey Whistle Test. We have the Christmas Concert of 1967. We got the John Peel Show Supersonic Rocket Ship period of 1972. In Concert 74. Top Gear 67. Saturday Club 64. And just a really good overview. And it's really wonderful. These are historic documents, archive documents of these bands, especially these early bands starting in 64 and then went through a good part of the 60s. And you really see this. We watch these bands grow up and get more mature and evolve musically. And again, the Kinks is one of the best representative of that, in my opinion. This one is fun too, and this is a great little box set. This is Transistor Blast XTC, of course, Andy Partridge and Company, best of the BBC sessions in these beautiful color CD pop art in a way. And I believe this goes from like 79 to 1989, various BBC shows, and it annotates the songs, the recordings, where they were recorded. One live from the Hammersmith Palace. Great series of things. So the BBC, they weren't all in BBC studios. Some of them are off-site, and like the Led Zeppelin and some of the other ones. So just a great way to listen to these bands where they're more live in essence, but with the benefits of great studio recordings. And the BBC, you can't deny, the engineers there did some really wonderful recordings of these bands at the time. I mean, obviously, again, some better than others. Another of my favorite is The Who, the BBC sessions. And this is a 2 CD set. This goes from, I believe, 1967 up until 73, the latest, but it really concentrates on those late 60s, around 1970. Again, another great comp. Would I like it to be expanded like the Kinks and the T-Rex? Of course I would. I like them all to be like that, with more books and more annotation. But these are just wonderful archival recordings, and if you like the band, you'll like each one. If you have a favorite band, and there's a lot, again, I don't have here in my collection. Here is another one. This is Procol Harum. This one's a little different because this is probably one of the best compact disc overviews on Procol Harum. Great, obviously, band from Whiter Shade of Pale, somewhat prog, somewhat pop, art rock. Just Gary Brooker's amazing vocals. We lost him in the past year, and I love this. Now, this has some Top of the Pops, a DVD of Top of the Pops and the Beat Club. Now, Beat Club's a little different take. I love those recordings. You can see them all over YouTube from Beat Club. That's a German television program. So that's going to be a little different, but I highly recommend it. Aside from this UK thing, which I'm really concentrating on, the BBC, the Beat Club recordings are really wonderful. And I'm not sure if there's ever been releases, audio releases of a lot of those recordings, but search them out. And there's been box sets with various bands. And of course, the recording, the whole hour show, I believe, of Procol Harum on Beat Club is really wonderful to see. It's the second incarnation after Matthew Fisher left, I believe, and after Robin Trower left, but it's still worth checking out. This also has a live at the Hollywood Bowl performance, live at Winter Gardens in Bournemouth, but it has some radio BBC recordings and some live things. So it's not as pure BBC-wise as the other records I'm showing, but it's still something really wonderful. And again, one of the few American bands here, a lot of American bands have performed on BBC and on the live at the BEEBs. I don't have as many as I thought I did, but this is a nice one, and this is a nice package. This is R.E.M. This also includes a DVD. This is jam-packed. I think this goes as early as Nottingham, England recordings, BBC live broadcast in 1984, but it mixes up in different age periods. It has 1991, 1998, Orange Crush period in 2003. We have a 1998 show at the National Bowl in England. We got Pyramid Stage, Glastonbury Festival, 1999. We got St. James Church in London in 2004. So these are more location-based BBC recordings. It's not the same as those early Kinks and early Beatles and The Who and other bands. And this is where the BBC did live shows of R.E.M. But you get a really nice overview and pretty nice recordings on these. And this one also has a lovely annotated book overseeing these great shows. And it talks about the different presenters each time. Matt Everett, Mark Hagan. Okay, I'm going to end up with an album, The Moody Blues, BBC, 1967 and 1970. I think the last recording on this is actually from the Lulu show in the United Kingdom. But again, this is live from the BBC. Covers about their first, 3 to 4 albums, I think. Nights in White Satin, Tuesday Afternoon, Ride My Seesaw, and so on and so forth. And what's nice about this is it's nice to hear these songs just au naturel without all the orchestration and all the extra classical overtures we hear on the legitimate albums. Of course, their second album, that great classical hybrid of rock and roll, Days of Future Past, is covered here. I love that record. That's my favorite Moody Blues record, and I think this is a great representation to hear them. And this only came out on vinyl, I believe, in 2019, and it's a 3-record set. And unlike everything else, this has the obligatory colored vinyl, different colors on the vinyl. But again, this isn't really about that. It's about the archive. So we have different colors, different shades of Moody Blue, I guess, right? Light blue, deep blue, and yellow. So the Moody Blues, Durham Records, live at the BBC. Really a nice overview of their BBC recordings live at the BBC. Thanks for watching this video. I think what's really important about this video is these great archival historic recordings. We have a lot of them, even though they're from transcriptions and tapes that even from that fans had saved, had recorded, and all different sorts of audio quality. But if you're into an artist, this is kind of a really wonderful historic archive. Live at the BBC series of records. So thanks for watching. I'm sure there are a lot of others that I missed, as I said at the top of this video. Put those down in the description if you think there are some that I should check out. Can't get everything, but I might check some out. So again, thanks for watching. Mazzy loves you.